All right, welcome everybody to another live stream. I know it's been quite a while since we've had one of these. Oh, okay. Um, so yeah, we're gonna pretty much with these new set of live streams. What in the world? So yeah, anyways, what we'll do is we're gonna pretty much recap everything that we've done or we talked about throughout the week in different videos, and we're also gonna have a little bit of a Q&A session. My cat is deciding to misbehave right now. She's very interested in all the stuff. So, yeah, we're going to have Justin join in on our call, or not on our call, but our live stream in just a little bit here. And so, yeah, we'll pretty much start getting started with everything. So, first on our list, we're going to go into the, we have the delivery of the Msc Virtuoso, which is really awesome. That is the newest ship in the MSC fleet. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, they're very interested in everything that's going on right now. But yeah, so MSC just took delivery of Virtuosa, and that's a very great ship. She is actually a sister ship to the Grandiosa, which has been sailing over in the Mediterranean for MSC for quite a while now. And everything's been very successful for MSC, which is very great to hear, especially with everything, with all of the new ships that are being delivered over the last year or so. Pretty much all of them have been just sitting. And the great thing about Virtuosa is that she is not going to be, just sitting around. She is actually going to be taking on passengers very soon. And I think the sail date for her is going to be April of 2021. She's going to start taking on passengers, which is really great to hear. So yeah, and then we actually got this news a couple days after I released the video, but they've got a all new bar on the ship, or that's not on Grandiosa, but it is on Virtuosa. That is pretty much a robotic bar, just kind of like the normal stuff on the Royal Caribbean's Oasis and Quantum class ships, like the robotic bar, or the bionic bar is what it's called. And but except on Royal, the robotic bartenders are like the little arms that you would see in like a car factory, which is really neat how they do that. And they're the ones that are mixing up the drinks. But the one on MSC, the really, really neat thing about it is that it's going to be, it's like a humanoid robot. So it's like basically it looks like a person and is actually interacting with you. From what I've heard, there's like such jokes and just like little things they can actually like interact with passengers, which is really, really neat. Hey, Tyler, how's it going? The robot bartender looks interesting. Yes, it really, really does look interesting. If I wasn't so nervous to try MSC, I would love to sail on Virtuosa just to try that out. Is this new MSC ship the same size as Mirabili? So Grandiosa and Virtuosa are Mirabili Plus class ships. So they're very, very similar. They're pretty much identical. They're a little bit longer. And I think the difference is about 12 to 13,000 tons. So they are just a little bit bigger, but basically the same. How's it going, George? Yeah, it's basically the same class. It's like comparing the Breakaway and the Getaway to the Escape. It's basically the same. But yeah, the robotic bartender looks really, really neat. And I think that's the really cool thing and how it differentiates themselves from Royal Caribbean is that it interacts with the passengers, which is really, really cool. So yeah, from what I was reading earlier, it was like jokes and little like riddles and things like that it can actually like say to guests, which is really cool. Let's see. And it will also mix in some Q&As with, if you guys have any questions about any of the topics that we cover tonight, be sure to drop them in the chat. I would love to answer and just kind of interact with you guys too. Let's see. I saw Mirabili up close, docked in New York. It was a very tall ship. It didn't seem too long. Yeah, that's a really, those are really interesting ships. They're extremely tall, but they're not the longest ships out there for sure. I know the Grandiosa and Virtuoso might be a little bit different than Mirabilia since they are technically longer. But yeah, it's very, very strange how they're not very long of ships, but they are so incredibly tall. Bets on when cruising is going to restart in the USA. That's an iffy topic, but I think with the vaccine rollouts, as divided as people are on the vaccines, I think the vaccines are going to help out a lot with at least getting started with cruising, or at least starting to return to normal with that phased restart. I would say hopefully by July or so, July to August, I would say it's a safe bet to at least start seeing some sort of phased return to service. But yeah, the vaccines are going to help a little bit, especially, working with the CDC, which seems almost impossible sometimes. Robbie, who's this dude? But yeah, actually, that's one thing I think I might do a video kind of going into this a little bit, but I was reading Norwegian and Royal Caribbean are both going to be requiring vaccines for all crew members. So this is one going to help them out as far as trying to get going again, but also to protect the crew members, from what I've been seeing, that there's no quarantining needed if you're vaccinated. There's so many loopholes with everything, but I think just requiring the crew members alone to vaccinate is at least, I don't know if they're going to be able to require passengers. I'm sure they're going to try, but vaccinating crew is going to help them a lot. And I think that's actually something that they truly can control. Let's see. But yeah, I would say probably maybe mid to late July, early August, we could probably start to see the phased return truly starting. As far as the test cruise, I'm not really sure. Actually, the CEOs of all the cruise lines have pretty much been saying we're just waiting on the CDC to actually tell us about what's going on with that. But yeah, let's see. I could tell it wasn't too big because it didn't jut out the pier into the Hudson River like the breakaway class ships do. Yeah, that's really cool. That's cool how some of the ships will do that. I think Anthem of the Seas does that over in just across the river there. Really looking forward to seeing that class of ships in Port Canaveral soon. I believe Mirabilia will be there late 2021. That's going to be awesome for sure. Is Mirabilia going to Port Canaveral? I heard Seaside was. I didn't know about Mirabilia. That's cool. Yeah, that's going to be a great ship to see in Port Canaveral. There's a lot of great ships going there too. I'm excited for it. I'm dying to make a trip down to Florida to go ship spotting, and it's driving me insane. I think the last time I actually was in person seeing a cruise ship was in October of 2019. That was when Justin and I went down to Miami to see the Norwegian Joy when she was there for the first time. But yeah, I think Escape is still supposed to be in Port Canaveral whenever cruising returns, or at least that's supposed to be. I don't know how they're going to do all these rollouts, where ships are going to be. I'm sure it's going to be all over the place. But I think Escape is supposed to be there. We're going to have Mardi Gras. We're going to have Carnival Liberty, of course, is still going to be there. I think Elation. Some MSC's bringing a few ships in there. And who else? Royal Caribbean's got their Oasis class. I think the Allure was supposed to be in there, I think, in Port Canaveral this year or next year. But yeah, lots of great ships. Actually, Independence was supposed to come at the end of this year, I believe, as well. So maybe Independence will still come into Port Canaveral. George says everyone needs to follow MSC's lead. I definitely agree, and I think that's what cruise lines are trying to do. I think that's what they're proposing, at least. I think they're trying to pretty much do exactly what they're doing, maybe even a little bit more. And I think I think it's right now trying to get the CDC to respond. I'm not trying to throw too much shade on the CDC, although I think all of us cruisers know they're not really cooperating too much. But I think we'll see pretty much something extremely similar, if not exactly the same as what MSC is doing. And actually, there's Carnival put out on their page, they took it down after a little bit, but they had like a layout of what their cruising was going to look like, whenever they do return to service, masks, testing, all of that stuff. And it was pretty much just like what MSC is doing. So that's really good to see. Seeing how MSC has been going almost flawlessly with all the stuff that they've been doing and all the sailings, I think, if they're even close, or if not trying to do one step better than the MSC, I think cruising will be a success here. It's just a matter of getting started again. Robbie says, I'm expecting a huge shift in ships, especially in the first 6 to 12 months of restart. I wouldn't be surprised at all by that. I mean, I think they're going to try to put certain ships in certain ports that they think is going to be best, at least for the phased restarts. I think maybe, 6 to 12 months down the road, they'll start putting everything where it should be, or where they were planning them to be. But at first, I'm sure we're going to see like a couple Breakaway Plus. You're back. We're going to probably see a couple Breakaway Plus class ships in maybe Miami or Fort Lauderdale. I would say we'll probably see, I would say maybe a Dream class ship in Miami as well, along with the Horizon. I would probably guess that. I think they were looking at the Breeze originally when they were trying to restart. I'm sure Royal Caribbean will do probably the same. But yeah, I think as far as moving things around, once they get started, it's going to be a lot of shifting and stuff like that. Especially like with Quantum over in Singapore right now. She's supposed to be in Alaska over the summer, which, we'll talk about Alaska in actually just a minute here. But because they're doing well and they're actually sailing over in Singapore, they're not going to pull her out of Singapore just so they can put her in Alaska for a season that's, still on thin ice, basically, as far as, hoping that we get to go. Let's see. So yeah, our next topic, is Alaska. And so as I said in the video that I talked about earlier the week, we have the Jones Act here in the U.S. And so, all the foreign flagged ships, which is basically every ship or every major ship, has to visit at least one foreign port before returning into the U.S. if it's doing a closed circuit cruise. And so I think, but from what I've been hearing, they're working with CLIA, which is the main, the main group for all the major cruise lines. Then they have the Canadian government and the U.S. government. They're all kind of working together, trying to see if there's maybe anything we can do about that. Maybe there's an exception that we can make for this 1 year, or, certain ships, certain things that they can do. I heard one possibility is that if they just let them dock in, Vancouver on their way back, then nobody has to get off. Nobody has to do anything. They could just dock the ship and then leave. I've heard that's a possibility if they even allow that, but that kind of defeats the purpose of, even wanting to open something up in Canada, because you're just getting a docking fee. All the tourism there is still non-existent at that point. Let's see. I know as of right now, just Disney is calling it PC right now. I tried to head over there when they're sail away. We're lucky to get a Disney ship coming at 4 p.m. about every Friday. That's cool. Actually, Justin was just at Port Canaveral earlier today. That's why he's not with us at the moment, at least. He was actually like just getting home whenever, the live stream started, because he was at Port Canaveral most of the day. But yeah, I think, yeah, that's surprising. I mean, I'm not surprised too much, I guess, because it's Disney. Disney's pretty much best friends with Port Canaveral, and they really don't go anywhere else for the most part. So I'm not surprised that Disney's really the only people over in Port Canaveral right now. Although Royal Caribbean had, they had Explorer, and I feel like there was another ship there that was, or just recently. But yeah, Port Canaveral's been pretty empty for the most part during this whole shutdown. Miami's picked back up ever since the no sail order was lifted, and so like a lot more ships have been coming in and out there. So that's really nice to see, at least them coming back. But yeah, back to Alaska. So yeah, they're kind of working with the legislation, there's a couple senators that are looking to, maybe make some changes to the rules or anything like that, at least just for the purpose of 2021. Yeah. If that's the case, then I think some of these senators are looking to see what they could do, at least, if they can repeal it for the 1 year, that'd be nice. Or, make some sort of exception to it. That'd be really great. I'm not looking for them to permanently just be like, oh, yeah, we're gone, or we're done. No need to do it anymore. But they definitely, should try to do something with it. Robbie says, how about NCL heading back to Asia? Please give me more details on that. I did not know that. Yeah, that's very interesting. I heard NCL might try to start up a ship over in Europe, because I guess things actually seem to be going up, or somewhat up there, at least one ship. I heard that like a while ago, but I had no idea about Asia. I mean, I don't really know how everything is over there still. Send the Pride of America to Alaska. That's a good idea. I mean, that's pretty much the only thing that they could put in Alaska right now is the Pride of America, because it's a U.S. flagged ship, so it doesn't have to follow that rule. So technically, if they wanted to, they definitely could. But I think that ship will probably be one of the last ones to restart, I would say. But definitely, I think it would definitely be a good fit in Alaska. At least if they're going to do anything with Alaska, that'd be a cool ship to put up there. But I hear, what was it? Oh, I think the reason actually, most of the cruise lines actually have not canceled their Alaska sailings right now, because they're still trying to work things out. I heard they've closed bookings, kind of like how a long time ago Carnival closed the bookings for like all the longer than 7-day sailings. And then, because they can't do that, so they're trying to see what their options are. And I think that's what the cruise lines are doing right now with Alaska, is trying to see if maybe there's something that they can do for any of that. They looked into that, and they can't, as half the ship was built outside of the U.S. Interesting. They couldn't do that, even though it circles Hawaii. I knew it was like partially built somewhere else, but I did not know, because it was built half somewhere else. I did not know it couldn't do that. So that's really interesting. Yeah, that is quite the climate change, though, from going from pretty much in its entire life in Hawaii over to Alaska. That'd be pretty crazy. But yeah, pretty much because Pride of America is flagged in the U.S. is pretty much the only reason it's able to circle Hawaii the way it does, and nothing else can't. I know a while ago they used to have I think it was the Pride of Hawaii and the Pride of Aloha, maybe. I think that was the old Sky, and I think Pride of Hawaii is now the Jade. But I think it's so expensive to operate those ships that they just had to convert them into normal ships. So it's flagged in the USA as a special permission, which was grandfathered in. Building originally started under Project America, went bankrupt, so MCL purchased the project. I thought so. Didn't Meyer Werft built like the rest of the ship, didn't they? Or they finished it? Because I mean, they built most of NCL's ships, but that's really cool. I did not know that. Yeah, Pride of America is a very interesting ship and how they all used to do that. Or how they even get away with doing everything that they do. That's also why it's so extremely expensive to go on that ship, is because of it being flagged in the U.S. Because it's like, they have to follow so many rules and regulations because it's flagged in the U.S. Like, I think they actually have to follow like U.S. minimum wage, which, but they have to follow the U.S. minimum wage and all that, but they do have to employ Americans as well, which not too many Americans want to work on a cruise ship, especially for, the wages that they get. So it's really not appealing. So it's never like, it's kind of hard, and it's hard and expensive to staff those ships. Now I wonder if the small lines like ACL will send a few of their ships to Alaska. Is that... that would be interesting. If they can't sail the U.S., they send somebody else. Robbie, I'm not surprised at all that you're on Pride of America out of New York. I am not surprised at all. You've pretty much been on everything, I'm sure. Yeah, it's a very interesting ship. I talk about it, here and there whenever every time the Jones Act ever comes up in a video or any sort of topic, that's like the ship to go to talk about. But yeah, so let's move on to let's talk about the terminals in Miami. That video was funny. Like, funny enough, that video was created quite a while ago. I think I made it February of 2020, and Justin says nerd. Where are you, Justin? Aren't you gonna join the chat, or aren't you gonna join in the call or the stream? But yeah, like, I completely forgot what I was talking about now. Oh yeah, the terminals. So yeah, the new terminals in Miami are going to be pretty crazy. So like, we've already got two of them, because we have Terminal A that was built by Royal Caribbean. That's a very nice terminal. I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get to go on Symphony of the Seas. Hold on, I'm going to try to get Justin in here. Justin, I'm going to call you on Skype, and I should be able to add you in. But yeah, anyways, while we're doing that. So yeah, Terminal A is built by Royal Caribbean. That one's already finished. It's been finished for quite a while. That was built basically for Symphony and all the Oasis class. Terminal B is for Norwegian. That looks really nice as well. And that was actually finished. It was supposed to be finished right after the the Encore came in, but then all the shutdowns happened, and pretty much they still finished it, but they've still have yet to use it, which kind of stinks because that's one, it's an expensive terminal, but two, it's a really neat terminal to check out, and I think it's kind of stinks that people can't join in, or they can't check that out, or like go through that terminal at all. But yeah, then so they're gonna. It used to be B and C, or like combined into one terminal. Like if they had a bigger ship, then they'd use both. And if they had like the Sky in there, then they would just use C. But then, so by building B, they pretty much were able to split the two up, and were able to put their big ships at B, and then just do the other ones over there. Justin says, I can't right now. I got a shower. I stink. We all know you stink. But yeah, and then, but in front of, so like if you're facing out, like towards the channel, in front of Terminal A, we're going to have AA and AAA, which is basically both of the new MSC terminals, or like where the MSC terminal is going to be. I guess they're calling it, two different terminals because it's going to pretty much serve two different ships at the same time. That one looks absolutely crazy. That's going to be, it's pretty much big enough to handle the world-class ships, which are their next generation ships coming out, I think next year or the year after. Those ships look oddly similar, and certain angles, those ships look oddly similar to the Oasis class. And they're even, I don't know if I saw a picture one time where they actually had a slide that goes, because it's got that open area in the back. Rafi says, Justin's watching in the shower. That's kind of sus. Or to start sussing people out like we're playing Among Us or something. But yeah, I think those terminals are going to be huge. But the ship actually has like that split structure, kind of like the Oasis class with the opening in the middle. And I've seen a picture. It's not two slides like Royal Caribbean, but it's got one slide that goes all the way down to the bottom where that little opening is. And my first reaction was like, well, that's kind of a ripoff of Royal Caribbean, isn't it? One, the design of the back of the ship, and two, the fact that it's got a slide back there, which is kind of crazy. But speaking of slides, there's going to be slides on a certain Norwegian ship coming soon. So that's all I will say on that. There's actually some stuff leaked about the Project Leonardo over the week, and everybody, me, Justin, and Robbie have been talking about it. But we're like, wow, I can't believe that got out, because like it's some really cool stuff, and I don't think we can really say too much about it right now. But it's really crazy. It's gonna be really cool. But yeah, back to the terminals. I keep getting off topic, checking on the chat and everything like that. But yeah, Robbie says, speaking of slides, but yeah, those world-class ships from MSC are going to handle 7,000 passengers apiece. And yeah, those are going to be absolutely monsters. They're smaller than the Oasis class, not by much, but it's crazy that they are going to be smaller, because they're handling so many more people than the Oasis class. I think the Oasis class holds about 6,300 maybe. But yeah, those are going to be some crazy ships. The front looks very interesting. The front's going to be like flat, kind of like Scarlet Lady. I know Disney Cruise Line was in talks with MSC to lease a third berth for their terminal. And the street talks were Florida Port and Miami. Yeah, I heard Disney. I think that was actually in the video a little bit, but I think Disney is actually going to put a terminal on the south side of Miami, or like the Miami port. So over where J is, the very, very small terminal where like Viking ships go to, or like Viking, Oceana, and stuff like that. It's just not big enough over on that side to put a big ship. So there's definitely a lot. But yeah, it's really cool. I mean, they say the new Disney terminal, if they do end up building that, I haven't really heard anything about it ever since, all the shutdowns started. So who knows if that's still going to go up. But the new Disney terminal in Miami, if it does happen, is going to be big enough for, they said, a 3,500 passenger ship, which is, like the dream of the fantasy. But they say it's capable of having the LNG ships as well. So anything from the Triton class, like the Wish, and anything that comes after that is definitely fair game with that new Miami terminal, which would be really, really cool to see one of the brand new ships there as well. I think the Wish is definitely going to go to Port Canaveral. I think every new Disney ship is pretty much going to go into Port Canaveral. I think that's just going to be a thing. But I think maybe once, the ship has been out for a while, or maybe once the second ship from the Triton class comes in, maybe the Wish will move down to Miami in that new terminal. Or maybe they'll just put the Dream or the Fantasy there for a little bit. But yeah, Disney is expanding their ship or their fleet a lot, which is really cool. They're going from 4 ships to 7. They're almost doubling the fleet. Tyler says the leaked slides on Leonardo class give me Abyss vibes. Yeah, they definitely give some Abyss vibes. They're gonna be crazy. They're gonna be crazy. I can't wait to try them out. I definitely want to book one of the Leonardo ships whenever they first open them up. I think they were supposed to open up bookings for those ships back in like October or something like that, and it just never happened. We still don't even have a lot of information on the Leonardo ships, even though those ships are already, like the first ship in the Leonardo class, Leonardo 1 is what we'll call it. That ship is actually like going vertical already with the blocks and stuff like that, and there's just we don't have any news on the ships or anything like that. But yeah, it's crazy how far along some of these new projects are with Royal and Norwegian, that there's just no information or like very little details. We know absolutely nothing pretty much about the Icon class from Royal Caribbean, because like we know that they're going to be natural gas, and that's about it as far as the Icon class. They've said 200,000 tons and liquefied natural gas. That's all they've said about the Icon class. And those ships have already started construction too. The first Icon ship will go in, I think it was early or late 2022. But yeah, it's crazy how far along some of these ships are that still have not opened up bookings for one, or even have very little information on. We actually have Wonder of the Seas is like almost done too. Like, it's crazy how far along that ship is, and there's still no bookings open, which, I'm not going to say I'm surprised by that. And I'm not surprised that the bookings aren't open for these ships, because like the cruise lines don't want to have to be like, oh yeah, well, it's going to get delayed even further, or it's going to, we're going to have to cancel some of these. So it's probably smart on their end not to open them up yet, but it's just crazy how far along these ships are. Like, usually bookings will open, we'll have so many like details on the ships, like partially, either very, very early in construction, or like, we usually know like everything by the time it's like halfway done or floating out. Yeah, it's crazy. Robbie says the hull art on Leonardo is going to be sick. I really want to see it if you have that. Yeah, I'm sure. Like, Norwegian always never disappoints with the hull artwork on some of their ships, especially the new ones. Encore was pretty crazy that Encore, whenever they first announced the artwork on the ship, I was like, oh, that's so terrible. And then like, and I always thought it was terrible looking until the ship actually like came out or was finished, and I was like, oh, that looks really good. Like, yeah, I really want to go on Encore too. There's so many ships, like not being able to go on cruises especially has like made it worse, because now like the number of ships I want to go on is like starting to stack up even more. But yeah, I definitely want to. I love the Breakaway Plus class from Norwegian Cruise Line. They're such amazing ships. Some of you, if you've been around for a really long time, I was on the Bliss for 15 days through the Panama Canal, and by far my absolute favorite ship that I've ever been on. 35 cruises, the Bliss hands down is the best that I've been on. Let's see. The go-kart track looks crazy on Leonardo too. Yes, looks interesting how Royal Caribbean has been able to keep Icon under wraps this long. Yeah, I mean, pretty much the leaks have pretty much let it out that Leonardo ships are going to have go-karts. But yeah, I'm excited for those ships. I'm not surprised. I guess I'm not surprised, but I am surprised that they're going to put the go-karts on Leonardo. It's really expensive to maintain go-karts, and that's why I'm surprised. But at the same time, there's such a huge attraction, and I mean, I guess the maintenance cost is what is usually covered by the fact that they charge to go on those. Yeah, they're crazy ships. I was about to book a cruise on the Encore on New York for May last year. Yeah, I wanted to do Encore out of New York, or actually I was looking more of Joy this year in May, but there's no way that'll happen. So yeah, I definitely want to cruise out of New York because it looks amazing. Robbie keeps bugging me to go out of New York, and Bermuda just looks amazing too. So I'd love to go out of New York. I think that's probably the next like big change or big like cruise that I'm gonna do that's like outside of Miami or Port Canaveral, because I want to do New York. Even if it is just like I hear really cool things, and I mean, the part of me feels, you go on a 7-day cruise and you visit one port, seems kind of lame. But then you got to think you're in Bermuda for a half a day, a full day, and then another half a day, basically. So, like, you get 2 overnights in Bermuda, which sounds really, really cool. So they're going to, there's plus and minuses, but I am really interested in going out of New York. Let's see, Leonardo go-karts on... going around the funnel is nuts. Yeah. Yeah. Those, the go-karts it looks like there's multi-levels. Maybe, I don't really know. Judging by the rendering that we got to see or that we weren't supposed to see, is pretty crazy looking though. Yeah. I don't know exactly how those pictures got out, but they got out on Cruise Critic, and they spread fast, didn't they? Joy totally won't be in New York until our 2022 season. I will be there in 2022. I don't know what it is about the Joy that I love so much, but like I want to go on the Joy so bad, for one, and it helps that she's in New York, so maybe that'll get me to go. I wish she had the studio cabins, because that'd be like the perfect opportunity for me to actually try one of the studio cabins. Those seem really, really neat. I've always been interested in them. They're a little more expensive, but they're cool looking. But yeah. Plus, maybe it's the fact that she was in China for so long. But yeah, I mean, I flew all the way down to Miami in the middle of, a semester of, one of my last semesters of school. I flew down to Miami like middle of that semester, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to go see the Joy because it's in Miami. It's like, why? Why would I do that? But at the same time, it was probably the coolest thing ever because it was the first time. That is, the Joy by far has my favorite hull art that I've seen on the ships. You know, Bliss, it looks amazing, but I think after seeing Joy in person, it looks absolutely awesome. I love the Joy's artwork. It's so cool. Just like the big phoenix on the side of it is really, really neat. I know people who did book the Encore cruise that I was thinking about going. They got rebooked for Joy this May. Obviously won't happen. Yeah, that's my thing. I really haven't booked anything recently because like I don't really know. I don't know when cruising is going to restart. Like once cruising starts up again, I'm going to start booking probably a lot or as much as I can given the time off that I have at work. But, you know, I'm going to be cruising as much as I can. It's just waiting until it starts. That way I know, like, is it actually going to happen? Or are we just going to wait another year until, you know, here we go again. You know, I've waited a year for this cruise and then it's still not going. So I'm sure it won't be a year out from now, but that's also what we said last year. But yeah, like I said earlier in the stream, I think with the vaccines are going to help at least try to push for the cruise lines to open up again. But it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy how long it's been now. I mean, Robbie used to be on cruises every other week, and he hasn't been on a cruise in almost a year now. Yeah, Robbie says you definitely want to get on the Joy. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll book whenever you know I'm ready to start booking again. I might, you know, give me some dates and I'll look at booking the Joy. Yeah. How much is it to go on the go-kart track on the ship? I know the prices changed a lot. I don't know how much it is right now. I think when I was on the Bliss, it was like $7 per person. But I heard like by the time the ship got to Miami, it was like 15 or something like that. So I think their prices are continuously changing. But I know when I went on the Bliss, it was $7 each time. And I think the laser tag was $5, which I think I did both of those. I did the go-karts and the laser tag quite a lot during that 15-day cruise. I think my parents had given me like some onboard credit or something like that, me and my sister, you know, before we'd gone on the cruise. And yeah, I think we blew that all on the go-kart track and the laser tag because that's so much fun. And the laser tag on the Encore looks crazy because like it's the whole back of the ship now instead of, you know, that little tiny area up in the front, and it's all like Atlantis themed too. So I absolutely love the Breakaway Plus class ships. They're so cool. But yeah, I love Norwegian's ships so much. I think, you know, probably not as much as Robbie does, but yeah, I've cruised on Carnival more than anybody else, but I think my favorite ships have always tend to be Norwegian ships. You know, I loved the Getaway whenever I first sailed on her. She was good the second time too. I've been on her twice. I think there's just a lot of ships on Norwegian's fleet that I really want to try out, especially with the Leonardo ships coming out too. Robbie says you get to ride for like 20 minutes or so. Yeah, you do get to ride for quite a while, and it's like the tracks are big for a ship. They're huge, but the tracks are also small enough to where, you know, the amount of time that you're out there, you usually get like 10 laps or so, which is, you know, feels like a lot. I know. Yeah, I think it was like 15 or something like that. I remember I at least got like eight or 9 laps in on the Bliss whenever I would go. It sounds like a lot, but at the same time, you get a lot of driving. It seems like a lot of driving time for you. Plus, I mean, they can't just let you out there for forever. But yeah, there's so much fun. That was the wildest thing. I was actually working at a go-kart track up in, North Georgia. And, at the time I was like thinking, wow, this is crazy. Like, how crazy would it be if they put one of these things on a cruise ship, and then like months later they announced the Joy, and then they announced the Joy is going to have go-karts. I went to my boss like the day I found out about that. I'm like, dude, you're not going to believe this. Like it was cool. Compared to Bliss, Encore is about 1,000 feet longer. Wow, I did not realize it was that much bigger. Like the Bliss or the Encore like hangs out over the side, like how big it is, but I didn't realize it was that much bigger than the one on the Bliss. The only thing about the one on the Bliss is that it like some of the turns are so tight that like as hard as you turn it, it was almost impossible to make the turn without like bumping the wall, without like coming to a complete stop or anything like that. So I enjoyed the go-karts a lot. But yeah, that was like, there was one turn in particular that I just like couldn't make without like just brushing it. But funny story, they actually like, so they're electric go-karts, and so like they can control what you're doing or like how fast you're going and stuff like that. And I was like, working at a go-kart track, I learned a lot of like crazy things with go-karts and stuff like that. So like, I knew how to like draft and stuff like that. And like, I was on this guy, like maybe like an inch away from his bumper, never touched him, but I was like drafting off of him very hard. And then the guy actually stopped my cart, or like made it slow down to pretty much like a crawling pace, because like I was too close to the guy. It was really funny. I was like, man, I never touched him, but like that's kind of funny. The go-karts that I worked with in high school were absolutely insane compared to the ones on the cruise ships, but you can't really do anything too crazy on a ship. The ones that like the track that I worked at, the go-karts would go like close to 60, 65. Those were absolutely insane, but they felt just as fast. Well, they didn't feel just as fast, but like I got that same thrill on Norwegian, even though they're a little bit slower, just because of how small the track is and how tight it is. It was a lot of fun. It was probably just as much fun because of where I was and like, everything, being a little bit different. But yeah, I think my light just died. But yeah, it was really cool. And, speaking of, I've always thought there was never a chance something would be on a cruise ship. And here we go with Carnival going, hey, we got a roller coaster on a ship, huh? How about that? And I always figured Carnival would be the ones to do it, but it was the craziest thing. Like I always thought it was like the coolest like idea, but I never thought that somebody would actually go through with making a cruise ship with a roller coaster on it. Especially like because they've been showing like videos and stuff like that of testing it out and everything, and it's really, really cool looking. Again, the Joy and the Mardi Gras will be the first two ships I go on whenever sailings start again, because I'm still a little hurt that my cruise on Mardi Gras got canceled, even though it was for Thanksgiving. It wasn't necessarily, it was delayed because of COVID, but it wasn't canceled. It wasn't part of like the wave of cancellations and stuff like that. It was more canceled because, it got delayed even further than it already was. Yeah, I'm still a little hurt about that. Actually, we got some more Mardi Gras news over the weekend, because we finally got like a little bit more in-depth look at La Piazza, which is like the new Italian not restaurant, but like Italian area on board. That's bothering me that light's out. But up until this point, like, we're like, okay, we knew Piazza was like one of the zones of fun, but we really didn't know too much about it. We're like, oh, Cucina's probably going to be there, and we don't really know what else, but like they came out and were like, yeah, so we're gonna have the pizza place here, we're gonna have Cucina here with outdoor seating. You know, outdoor seating isn't anything new to the industry or for Carnival, but for Cucina alone, that Italian restaurant on Carnival, that's a new thing. They've never done that for that specific restaurant, which is really I can't talk. It's really cool. Yeah, that's one of my like favorite restaurants as well on Carnival. Is I always make a point to go to Cucina at some point throughout the cruise, because we're on the Horizon, and I guess my last cruise. That sucks. That was my last cruise. But like halfway through the cruise, we're like, we really should go to Cucina. Like it's here, and we love that restaurant, so like we need to go. And so I think like last minute, I think it helped that we were Diamond and Platinum, but we were like, hey, do you have any openings for, Cozumel Day or the day we're in Cozumel? And they're like, yeah, we can get you in. And so I ended up missing the Sailways that day because of it, but like well worth it. Speaking of Mardi Gras, the ship was just added to the CDC's website over the past week. That's interesting. I wonder if that's, maybe one of the ships that could possibly get going. I'm not really sure. I mean, that's interesting that they added it to the website. I know people who booked the Mardi Gras at least 5 times and they're all canceled. That really stinks. Yeah, I think we just opted to get a refund and then we'll book whenever things start back up again. But yeah, I've got friends that have had like, multiple cruises canceled, specifically on the Mardi Gras, just because it kept getting delayed. And then there we go with, now that the ship's been delivered, it's just sitting there because we can't really cruise. Which, that's back to the Virtuoso we talked about earlier. That's the nice thing about that ship is that, they got a new ship, but they're actually using it. So like, the Apex has literally been, I think that was like the first ship delivered during the shutdown back in like March of last year. And the Apex has never taken a guest yet. And that's just crazy to me. And while we're on that topic, Tyler says it means they plan to sail the ship in the period on the framework of. Oh, okay. So yeah, so Mardi Gras is definitely gonna be part of like the phased return to service. I don't think she'll be the first one, but she'll probably be like the second phase or like the second wave of ships to return. So like, I think Horizon and maybe Breeze will probably be like the first 2 ships, and then Mardi Gras will be like a couple weeks after that. But yeah, what I was saying, I got distracted. Speaking of ships that have like never seen passengers, Virgin Voyages of all things couldn't have timed that any worse, because like they have still not taken a single passenger yet. That's horrible that they've never seen their first passengers yet. They had like the media day or like the media, cruise in the UK, but like besides that, they haven't seen a single passenger on that ship yet. And that ship turned 1 year old today. Like 1 year ago today, I almost said MSC. 1 year ago today, Virgin took delivery of Scarlet Lady, and she still has not seen her first passenger yet. And Valiant Lady is almost ready. Like I think they said Valiant Lady's still like on schedule for delivery in either May or June. But it's crazy how like they pretty much got their first 2 ships. Not only did they build those ships from scratch, but like the first 2 were done basically before they see their first passengers. And the third one is already like going vertical with construction. Like the blocks are being put in place with that ship. So like they got plenty of ships. But yeah, it's crazy that they haven't taken a single passenger yet. Okay, the original cancellation was on the one out of New York sailing, so it wasn't COVID related. Although it would have been canceled anyway. Yeah, they were on. Then they were on the second ever sailing. Oh, okay. The Thanksgiving sailing was, I think, the second ever sailing, or like I think that was the one I was on. So that's cool, but yeah, that stinks. They got canceled. My plan is to my plan is to head to PC and ship spot her when she makes it here to Port Canaveral. And that is most likely to be around mid-March when she's due back into Barcelona on the 1st of March. Interesting. Yeah, like Mardi Gras is going to have to go into Canaveral because she's powered by natural gas. So she can't go into Miami. I mean, she could fit in Miami, but she can't. Or well, she can, but she can't go there to like refuel or anything like that. So there's really no purpose of Mardi Gras even going into Miami because they don't have natural gas to fuel that ship yet. So like she has to go into Port Canaveral. And I was actually I've been wanting to go see that ship like the first time in Port Canaveral whenever that may be, but you know, who knows with all the stuff going on. I don't know if I'll be able to go down there, blah blah blah, but I'm really excited to see that ship for the first time in person, whenever that may be. I'm really excited for it. And then we also have Celebration. Now, Miami will have the natural gas in Miami. Or, yeah, the Celebration's going into Miami because by 2022, Miami will have natural gas. That's pretty much why she hasn't been in there yet, or that why no natural gas ships are in Miami yet. Scarlet Lady needs to fix its pools. Yeah, Scarlet Lady's a very interesting ship. She's got, you know, I was looking forward to having like all the reviews come in on that ship, and then, you know, we didn't get them. But she's such an interesting ship because like she's nothing like any other ship we've seen in the industry before, and I think that's a good thing. But it's also, you know, that's probably also hurting it a little bit as well. Because, like, yeah, there's so many things about that ship that it's going to be so different for cruisers that may not work out well for them. But at the same time, I think sometimes being different like that is what's going to set them apart and actually make people want to cruise with them more. But yeah, the pool is definitely one of those things that needs to be fixed. The pool is like the size of like a table almost. Like it's a tiny, tiny pool. And like, I mean, I get it because it's an adult only cruise. Like you're not going to have a bunch of kids swimming or anything like that. But it's just crazy that, you know, people still want to use the pool, but it's just such a small pool. So yeah, it's a weird ship, but part of me like wants to try it, but at the same time, like the other part of me is like, I don't know if I'm going to like that type of cruise. You know, the adults only is going to be fantastic. Don't get me wrong. That's probably like the most appealing part, especially to me, is that it's adult. Oh, I can't talk tonight. It's adults only. So like, that's probably like the most appealing part is like, you know, there's not going to be tiny kids like screaming up and down the halls. You know, my parents went on Harmony in 2018. My parents are actually on the Harmony as I was on the Bliss. So like I went on the Bliss for the 2 weeks with my grandparents and my sister. And while we were gone, my parents went on Harmony. My parents had the absolute worst cruise ever on the Harmony, and not because of the ship. The ship was amazing. They even said the ship was amazing. But they had the loudest kids next door to their cabin, like banging on the walls, screaming. Like it was, they had like the volume on their TVs up all the way, and they could not drown out the sound of those kids. And so like my parents were like, I want to try Virgin. Like I want to try Virgin Cruises after that. Because like it was crazy. Yeah, I kind of like, I felt bad that they had to go through that. They ended up getting their cabin changed like halfway through the cruise, which was nice of Royal to do. But it was the craziest thing, and it was almost kind of like upsetting that, their cruise, a couple like 3 and 4 year old kids that just didn't stop screaming kind of like ruined their cruise. But so for people like that, I definitely see why Virgin would, be appealing to them. And I think my parents would actually like to try them out just for fun. Apparently a lot of cruisers hated Scarlet Lady whenever she was in Dover. Yeah, I actually Emma Cruises had, her review almost went viral almost to like it was such a good review that she did on that ship, but she nitpicked everything about the ship in a good way. Like she did all the great things about it, all the bad things about it, and there was a lot of very interesting things that she pointed out in her video that she did. But yeah, I heard you're going to either absolutely love Scarlet Lady or you're going to absolutely hate it. But it's also a cruise that you're going to need to try first. Like you need to try it to make sure to see if you like it, but you're either going to love or hate it. Let's see. You could always do a 4 or 5 night cruise on Scarlet Lady if they offer those. Yeah, that's the nice thing about Virgin Voyages. They've got like, I guess, shorter cruises. They do like 4 or 5 nights, I think, because they go to Bimini, which is a private island, and they've got all their other stops that they go to. But I think they've got like 4 or 5 night cruises, which is nice because then you don't have to bring everything in, or like you don't have to bring in loads and loads of luggage too, because I know storage especially was one of the big points in her and Emma's video. But you could try to see if you like it, but you're not going to spend an entire week on board the ship, which is nice. Best of both worlds, that brings back memories of the Disney Wonder. A couple of doors down from my cabin, there were poor people who had a lot of sound around 10 p.m. at night. Yeah, it's Disney. I think Disney gets a bad rep because it's, people associate Disney with a kid cruise line, and I think Disney does a good job at separating it, but at the same time, you're going to have you're going to have very little kids on those ships. But speaking of Disney, I want to sail on a Disney ship so bad. Like if it tells you how long it's been since I've been on a Disney ship, I was on the inaugurals for Magic and Wonder, and that's it. So I think 1998, 1999. So it's been a good 20 years basically since I've been on any Disney ships. So that kind of stinks. But I'd absolutely love to go on them again. I wish they weren't so expensive, but at the same time, it's Disney. It's going to be expensive. Hey, Ben, how's it going? Glad to see you made it. But yeah, Disney ships look really crazy and look really good. Maybe I'll look into the Wish. The Wish looks really cool. This is actually a cool thing. So, if some of you may not know, but it's considered the Triton class or it's called the Triton class, even though, it's the Wish. I actually had a roommate of mine when I was on the Disney College program. He was an engineering major. He actually did like a professional internship with Disney, and his internship, he actually was like on the Wish, like the project Triton, or the Wish, which was the absolute coolest thing. When I found out he was on that, I was like, dude, you gotta like tell me some stuff about this. It's like really cool. Like, do you remember how like into cruising I am? And so like he said, yeah, he's like, the Wish is gonna be one of the greatest things that's ever hit the water. But it's really cool to like actually know somebody. Like I lived with the guy for a couple months whenever I was on my college program, but he actually worked on that project, like with designs and stuff like that. That's really cool. But yeah, it's a cool but it is the Triton class. It's not the Wish class. It's the Triton class. So if anybody ever heard me in a video talking about that, or like the Triton class, that's what I refer to, because that's like the actual name of the class. So that's really cool. But yeah. So I think we've been on for almost an hour now. So I think we'll go ahead and call it a night. I really enjoyed hearing you guys' comments in the chat, and, you know, obviously interacting with you guys. It's been a lot of fun. We'll try to do this once a week again. Just recap. I almost said recap. We'll recap all the news for the week, and you know, also just kind of talk back and forth with you guys in the chat. So thank you guys for joining in. Hope to see you guys next week, and we'll see you in the next one.